While we all want to get the most money for our homes when we decide to sell them, overpricing from the beginning can come with a host of pitfalls. I'll tell you why today on Realty Talk. It's completely normal, and I feel the same way too. After we've lived in our homes and done all of the things to maintain the house, including some pretty expensive repairs, we tend to feel that our home is top notch and that it must be the best home in the market at any given time. After all, we loved it, so why wouldn't everyone else? Here's the thing, while that may be completely true, when it comes to selling, it doesn't matter how great the home is if no one wants to come see it because they're turned off by the price, which leads me to the first pitfall, and that's slow or no showings. When selling, we must realize that almost every buyer who's in the market and ready to buy a home is also working with the licensed realtor. If they're not, they should be, because realtors offer professional representation and have the tools and skills not only to find a home for their buyers, but also to make sure they're not overpaying. Here's something to contrast against what I'm about to tell you. If a house is priced correctly or aggressively for the current market, showings will often be abundant, and offers can come in quickly. Not only that, but an abundance of showings can also lead to multiple offers that are competing for your listing. This is obviously the best case scenario for a seller, and because when this happens, it can lead to an auction-like effect that can cause buyers to increase their offers above list price to beat out the competing buyers. In recent years, I've had this happen with many of my own listings, and it's exciting when I get to share multiple above-priced offers with my sellers. On the other hand, if a house is priced above the current market in a particular neighborhood, the buyer's realtor will tell them, either before or during the showing on the property. If the buyer is informed beforehand, they may choose not to see the house, which equals no showings. But if the house looks like it may truly be spectacular and possibly the one, a small portion of buyers will decide to go ahead and take a look in person, which equals slow showings. Neither slow showings nor no showings are desirable for sellers for a couple of reasons. First, the house is exposed to fewer buyers right from the beginning, so there are fewer opportunities to sell the house. And second, now the house is sitting on the market longer than it should had it been priced accurately from the beginning. I've represented both a lot of buyers and a lot of sellers, and I'm speaking from experience, so I'll share a few dynamics that I've recognized in my career. The first is the fear of paying too much. Buyers have a shopping budget, and even though your house may be within their budget, no one really wants to spend more than they have to, so they decide to skip looking at the listing altogether. But others still may want to take a look. Each buyer has their own reasons, but the dynamic here is due to the psychology of an individual's personality. The buyer may love the house and everything about it, but they just see the list price as the sticker price, just as if it were sitting on a shelf or hanging on a rack at a store. These are the types of people who avoid confrontation at all costs and would never think about negotiating for a lower price for fear of offending the seller, or simply because they believe the price shown is the price it cost. End of story. Even if the realtor advises them the seller may take less when asked, they never set a showing or make an offer. That's just the way they're built, and it's their personality. However, some buyers may want to see the house with the intent that if they like it, they'll just ask the seller to accept a lower price offer. This often bruises the seller's ego a bit, and the seller can't believe the lowball offer the buyers have presented. The truth is, it could be a lowball offer, or it could be right on the money if the realtor did a market analysis prior to writing the offer and advised them how much similar homes are selling for nearby in the same neighborhood. Now, these folks are often more aggressive, and when they see what they want, they'll go after it with no fear of offending anyone. They believe the list price is only the starting point for negotiations, and they're right about that a lot of the time. They look for deals, do their research, and make offers based on what they feel is an appropriate price. And if they can't get it for their price, they don't mind walking away, and that's just their personality. Keep in mind, if your home is similar to and competing with other houses down the street, your high price could help your neighbors sell their house first while yours languishes on the market for days, weeks, or months. And that leads me to the next pitfall: days on the market. Not all markets are selling like hotcakes, And not all markets are as slow as molasses, but every market and every neighborhood has its own trends. If a house sells quickly for the trend in your neighborhood, that house was likely priced correctly or maybe even a little below the other homes, so it showed up as a better value in the eyes of more buyers, and more buyers came to see it. And that house may have even sold for above the list price. However, if your house is priced above the market and then sits while your competition is selling, it raises questions about value. Buyers and their realtors begin wondering, what's wrong with this house? Why has it been on the market so long while the other houses in the neighborhood are coming and going? It's a completely rational question, and it's usually the first one asked. Since the house has been on the market so long, they may decide to test the waters and shoot over a lowball offer if they think the seller might be getting desperate. And now we get to the next pitfall, which is how to show value in the market you're in. The reason this becomes a pitfall is because at this point, it all comes down to price. Sellers begin to face the fact not only do they need to move to the next stage of their journey, but also that the price they're listed for is exactly the roadblock that's standing in the way of their goal. If the seller is lucky, their realtor will complete a fresh market analysis and show them what their competition went under contract and sold for, so they can decide if they want to meet the market where it is. I said if they're lucky because it may be too late to do a price improvement to price it correctly, and there are two reasons for that. One, now the house is in line with the other houses in the neighborhood, and two, the house has now been on the market longer than all of the other houses that have gone under contract and sold. In a buyer's mind, the house's current price minus the days on the market equals less value than the other homes, and the correct price still seems too high. This is the buyer's perception, but it's been said before, and I'll say it again, perception is reality. Here's some advice from my experience. If you started out pricing too high because you wanted to test the market, recognize quickly that strategy didn't work out this time. Face the facts and make a course correction quickly to keep your days on market in line with the rest of the neighborhood, or you may end up facing the next pitfall, which is having to chase the market down. Chasing the market down is where you'll end up losing the most money, and here's the problem I see with that. You may truly have the absolute best house in your neighborhood. Have more new items, remodeling, landscaping, and all the things your competition doesn't have. But now you're chasing the market down, lowering the price to show the best comparable value and hopefully get some showings and receive an offer. That really hurts. It hurts your feelings, your ego, and your net proceeds at the closing table. The worst part is that it all could have been avoided if the home was priced correctly from the start, or at least made an early course correction. And the last part I'll discuss in this video is one none of us can deny. Well, we can, but it's not likely to do us any good, and that is the appraised value of the home. If a buyer is using any type of traditional loan to buy a house like VA, FHA, or conventional, their financing will likely be based upon the home's appraised value. This is not where you want to find out that your home's value is short of the mark from the offer you accepted. But how does this happen? Well, it often happens when the house is priced above the market, but the buyer agrees with your price and wants to write an offer that is at or even above the price that was too high to begin with. An appraisal can be a brutal reality check, but they serve two purposes. One is that of ensuring the bank doesn't overlend on a property through the buyer's loan, and the second is a consequence of the first, which is to ensure that the buyer doesn't overpay for the property. The appraiser is going to look at the most similar houses that are the closest by distance and have sold most recently. If you're in a neighborhood that's filled with similar builder production homes, meaning it's not a custom home, and your neighborhood also has a lot of recent sales for the appraiser to compare your home to, and if your house is above the top of the market, even if the buyer agreed to pay your price, you could end up with a rude awakening, and that's just terrible news for any seller to receive. The worst part is, at this point of the transaction, both the buyer and the seller have likely spent thousands of dollars. The buyer paid for an inspection and the appraisal, and possibly put a down payment deposit at a moving company. And those sellers have not only spent money to get the house ready for showings, but also spent money addressing items on the buyer's inspection objection to resolve those issues. Once the appraisal has been completed and delivered to the bank, if the appraisal didn't meet value, the buyers will send over an appraisal objection notice. Now we're at a fork in the road and a new decision will need to be made. There are a few ways that I know to help navigate this result, but I'm out of time for this episode. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you want to know more about this subject or any other real estate topic, reach out and I'll be happy to begin a conversation with you. If the Chambers Group can help you with your real estate needs, we'd be honored to be of service.